Ink Ribbon.
Okay, maybe these games don't teach you as much as you'd learn in school, but you're still learning. Are you sick of your parents telling you that you're wasting your life playing video games? Well, with these games you can have the perfect response by telling them that you're learning. Today on Ink Ribbon, we're looking at the game series that actually teach you things and give you knowledge you can use in the real world. So strap on your thinking caps and pull up your smarty pants, cause today things are about to get nerdy. I will be excluding games that have brain teasers and focusing on games that teach you actual things, whether it's intentional or not. And with that, here are the top 10 games that teach you.
Number 10.
Resident Evil. Okay, so you're probably like, what? But hear me out. My introduction to the series was Resident Evil 2 back when I was about 12 years old. Just in Resident Evil 2, I learned the words mutagenic, embryo, pupate, as well as many others. But it doesn't end there. In the games, you navigate real-world places and interact with a lot of different things. Doors, switches, locks, shutters, blockades, and a lot of things relating to emergency situations. Things you probably would never do in real life.
Hey, where are we?
Huh?
Latitude 82.17 degrees. That's the Antarctic. We're over the Antarctic!
What?
Along with these, you also accidentally learn about how viruses work and how they can spread among humans, as well as the effects a pandemic can have on society. And lastly, you also learn about a lot of items and weapons you pick up in the game and can even examine them for more information. Normally, all of these are not anything of use, but the thing that stands out in the Resident Evil series is that most of the things in the game are found in the real world and actually exist as they do in the games.
Number 9.
Civilization. As the name implies, Civilization teaches you about how things progress over the course of history. How a small tribe can become the biggest country in the world, or how a global superpower can fall at the hands of one man. Along with all the economic structure that goes into city building, the player also deals with politics, government, war, and diplomacy.
Number 8.
Gran Turismo. When I first played Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec back on the PS2, it was the first time I really learned about cars. Ironically, the game is terrible about teaching you how to drive. That's for another spot on this list. But instead teaches you about the inner workings of a car on a very basic and fundamental level. When customizing and upgrading your vehicle, you have the choices of parts for every main part of your car. This game literally taught me about shock absorption, tires wearing out, downforce, naturally aspirated engines versus turbo engines, and a few other fun things. It also uses real-world car companies, which can further your knowledge of car brands and where they rank among their competitors, as well as different classes of vehicles.
Number 7.
Metal Gear Solid. The Metal Gear Solid series is known for being packed with story, but did you know it's packed with knowledge too? If you know where to look, that is. From Metal Gear Solid on the PS1 to Metal Gear Solid 4 on the PS3, you have someone via codec that can provide you with an array of information about various items, weapons, places, and even animals. In Metal Gear Solid 1, Snake can call Nastasha Romanenko, an analyst for the Nuclear Emergency Search Team, or NEST. After surviving Chernobyl, she became an expert in nuclear weapons, but also is extremely knowledgeable about weapons and gear. If Snake equips an item, then calls her, she will give you a lengthy description about whatever that item is.
Those are stun grenades. They are often used in sensitive operations such as freeing hostages and that sort of thing. Sometimes they are called flash bangs or sound and flash grenades. They make a big flash and lots of noise, which will disorient...
In Metal Gear Solid 3, SIGINT and Paramedic serve as the weapons and field guides respectively. While SIGINT can tell you about weapons, Paramedic is where this really can teach you things. During the game, Snake can find various animals, fruits, plants, and other things which may or may not be edible.
Yabloko Maloko. It's a Russian name that roughly translates as milk apple.
Paramedic will give Snake a full rundown of each item, including where it originated and a description of its taste, as well as any extra nutritional information. This information could, in theory, save your life if you were stranded in a jungle. Did you know you can use honey as a burn ointment? Now you do.
Number 6.
Trauma Center. This game is not for the squeamish, but if you can get past that, it's a great game for learning about the body, specifically anatomy and injuries. You play as a surgeon who has to deal with a plethora of injuries ranging from cuts and infections all the way to tumors and parasites invading major internal organs. While the latter is a bit far-fetched, the game does teach you the basic principles of how surgical procedures are performed. Things like suturing, disinfecting, suction, vital monitoring, and so on. Are you enjoying this video? Then like and subscribe, it's just a few clicks and it really helps out my channel. Okay, back to the countdown.
Number 5.
Typing of the Dead. If you suck at typing, then I can't think of a more fun way to learn than Typing of the Dead. Originally a game where you shoot zombies, Sega repurposed it as a typing game where you spell out words at zombies and monsters to defeat them. We all know that some things can be mundane and boring to learn or practice, but in this day and age when typing is almost a necessary skill, you really have no excuse not to be able to type like a pro. But if you do, here's a fun solution. As an added bonus, all the characters in the game have these weird keyboard backpacks which makes the cutscenes just hilariously strange.
Number 4.
SimCity. Managing a city is not easy. Normally, games that revolve around management tend to be simplified, but in the case of SimCity, it's really not. The game requires an exact balance and constant management to keep the city from collapsing in on itself. You have to manage resources like electricity and water, while also dealing with things like waste management and healthcare coverage. Along with this come things like zoning, planning, traffic, and money management. Maybe you're not going to be a mayor anytime soon, but it's still a good thing to understand the basics of how the economy of a city works on a fundamental level, and this is the game that will teach you.
Number 3.
Rocksmith. Remember Guitar Hero and how it made you feel like a rock star, but without any of the talent or skill? Well, thankfully, Rocksmith stepped up to bat to teach you how to actually play guitar in real life. Utilizing a ton of techniques and methods, Rocksmith has a huge catalog of video tutorials, songs to play, and mini-games designed to help with certain techniques and practice things that are normally boring, like scales. You can plug any guitar into your console and play real songs. The songs have difficulty settings to help you slowly learn a song at a comfortable pace, as well as the ability to repeat sections as needed. On top of this, the game has an internal clock that keeps track of how long it's been since you played, and forces you to keep refreshing yourself so you don't forget how to play. If you want to learn guitar or bass, this is a must-have game.
Number 2.
Grand Theft Auto. Okay, so you may be wondering why Grand Theft Auto is at number 2, but there's a lot to cover, so I'll get to as much of it as possible. GTA, like Resident Evil, takes place in the modern-day real world. But in this game, there is just so much that you can learn and apply to your own life. You can trade virtual stocks, buy real estate, play tennis or darts, do yoga, run a triathlon, go to a shooting range, scuba dive, and so many other things. And I know you may be thinking, how does this apply to learning in real life? Well, it actually does. Every kid out there doing all these activities for the first time in the game is sort of sampling what it would be like in real life and getting a basic fundamental understanding of what it is. The best example of all this, which I've saved for last, is driving. I played Grand Theft Auto way before I was old enough to drive, but I was able to apply what I learned about driving in Grand Theft Auto to real life. Aside from accelerating and reversing, I knew how a car would react when I did a sharp turn at 15 miles an hour versus a sharp turn at 100 miles an hour. I knew that if I turned the steering wheel one way while reversing, the car would go the opposite direction. You also get a basic understanding of traffic and navigating streets, even if you decide to plow through cars and run over people. Even though it's just a game, you are subconsciously learning how to operate a vehicle in the real world. Now, if people could just stop texting and driving, where's the game for that?
Number 1.
Cooking Mama. And at number 1, we have Cooking Mama. Okay, so first of all, I have to say, I cannot believe how many people out there have no idea how to cook even the most basic of meals. Everyone should know how to cook. It is a necessary skill that will save you money and is one of the most useful things to know in life. You know, since everyone needs to eat. Cooking Mama is awesome in teaching the basics of cooking, utilizing a plethora of real-world recipes. While it does so using silly minigames and QuickTime events, the actions themselves are what you would really be doing in the kitchen. There's even a YouTuber by the name of Game Tim who does the Cooking Mama recipes in real life, so you can't say it's just a game. And that's it for this list. If you think there's a game I missed, please let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more gaming videos. I'm Kai Morgan, and as always, thanks for watching Ink Ribbon.